Now we're going to talk about the lab panels themselves. So those of you who don't want the details, just try to hold your head up with your hand on the table and just close your eyes. And, I don't want to get technical. I don't want you to feel this complex, but we can't not go over what's in the panels and how those work, okay? At the end of the game, you're going to be looking at colors, red, bad, green, good, and you're going to look at recommendations, and it becomes very easy. But we're going to talk about what's in the panels, what analytes are in it. So there's a little bit more complex in detail. But the overall game, keep in mind, is red is bad, green is good. You're going to get recommendation nutrients and some lifestyle, and make it very easy for you.
But the system is set up to where, if that's your preference, where you just want simplicity, it's definitely going to fit in your box there. But if there's other people who want a little bit more, complexity and no more details, we have all of that information for you as well. That's like how my mind works, so you're going to be able to, accommodate both sides.
Good point. So if you're an advanced functional doc, this is definitely something that you can definitely dive into. If you want simplicity, it'll serve your needs as well. So the different lab panels that we currently have is a metabolic profile, which is going to cover a lipid panel, blood sugar, glucose, C-reactive protein, and hemoglobin A1C. So what is this? This is going to tell you inflammation and sugar imbalances and your fat in the blood. Those are the three things: fat, sugar, and inflammation. Okay? So your average person coming in the clinic that has fatigue, is that related to blood sugar? Yes. Is inflammation associated with musculoskeletal issues? Yes. So this is something you do on every new patient for $40-something. You can't get cheaper than that, and everyone can get that panel. Okay? The reason we had this simple panel is because we had it as a skin prick test. Okay? And we're using this with our MetaLife program. This is the same panel. So we recreated it with a blood draw. I think you can go a little bit more than this because we're not doing skin prick, we're doing a full blood draw. So I personally recommend the second panel for every patient versus this one. This again was designed because we were doing skin prick testing, and now we're doing a blood draw. We can go another step higher. These analytes I'm going to show you on the second test were not available in a skin prick, so we didn't have it available.
You may have patients who aren't willing to, go to that $100 mark. Some of you may be wondering, why vitamin D isn't on this one. That's a little bit more expensive panel, or a more expensive analyte. So it's very important, and you'll see it on our next panel. So I just wanted to clarify that too. It's like under $50. So some patients, they won't go over 50. I don't think you'll have many people like that. They'll probably want to stay under 100. A lot of them, if it's like the first patient visit. So I just wanted to call that out.
Yeah. This one doesn't come with a package.
Yeah, I would not, I shouldn't even put this one up, okay? The reason I had this is just because I'm just letting you know, those of you who are using our weight loss program with the skin prick test, this is the comparable. Honestly, I wouldn't do this. For $14 more, you're going to get 10 times the test with that full functional report that you guys have seen. Hopefully you guys are passing around that test. So I would not use this test. I shouldn't even put it on. The reason we did is because this is what's in our weight loss. We were doing skin prick testing. Why did we bring skin prick testing in? It's because of this phlebotomy issue. Chiropractors aren't phlebotomists. I did the skin prick testing. Okay? Patients were coming in and they were like, they forget to do the test. They didn't put enough blood on it. They were scared to prick their own hand. They were too cold. They couldn't get enough blood on. It theoretically was a great solution, skin prick testing, but in application, it caused a number of different issues for us in getting these results. Okay? So I love the idea, but this is going to be a lot easier. Okay? The next one is the one I would recommend for every patient that comes in. This is a lipid panel, a complete blood count. What is a complete blood count? Anyone know what's in a complete blood count? I know you do. Anyone know what's a complete blood count? So that's like your blood cells, red cells, neutrophils, remember that from school, eosinophils, remember those, basophils. So like eosinophils is allergies, each one, and one's bacteria, one's parasites. it's pretty simple when you re-look at it, and if it's off, it's going to tell you exactly what it is, okay? So this is just the type of blood cells. That's what a CBC is, okay? CMP14, that's a parameter of analytes like glucose, bilirubin. Oh yeah, it's right down here. So right here. Albumin, globulin, these are proteins, the liver enzymes. So this is just what's in this one here, okay? It's just down here. And then we add vitamin D. Why do we add vitamin D? Someone tell me why it's important to check vitamin D in a chiropractic office. Bones. It affects bones. Why else? Affects the immune system. Energy. Disease. Cancer. But a lot of people don't know, and Brittany said it, its effect on muscles. It causes flaccidity of muscles. Most of your scoliosis cases have vitamin D deficiency. Okay? I always tell the story. Recently, I had a dentist ask me to take a look at his granddaughter. She was 11 years old, and she came in. She couldn't balance. No, not 11. A couple years younger. 8, 9, I think it was. A little bit younger. She couldn't even balance to stand. Her feet, her arches were collapsed. So you think it's just an orthotic issue. Well, her knees were collapsed. Well, when she sat down in such a C curve. She had no stability of posture, like so curved I can't even do it with my body, the C-shaped curve. She was distended in the abdomen. Her muscles on her spine, when you touched it, you could take the tissue and just move it anywhere in the back. You know, you have like the tissue, the skin tissue, you have a little bit of give, but the muscle has some tone. No tone. I could just take that body and move it anywhere. And I just said, she's vitamin D deficient. Like, what do you mean? I just know. They're like, no, they tested everything. No. So they do a blood test. It was like 11 or something like that. And what shocked me so much was 90 days later having this little girl walk in the room with balance and tone was unbelievable in as short as 90 days. So vitamin D is a rampant epidemic. It's actually accepted by the medical world now in the last 5 years. They're actually promoting it. They said we were quacks 20 years ago when we said vitamin D, something we got to check. Now they're taking it from us and saying vitamin D. So if you don't test for it, at least ask them for a test. You got to know this, guys. You got to know if there's vitamin D deficiency. It's rampant, and it's going to affect your chiropractic results. C-reactive protein is basically an inflammatory marker. I think that's important when we're working in an inflammatory industry. And hemoglobin A1C being a long-term blood sugar marker. So that's, this panel I think is in your notes, I think it's $69. You're not going to get this for $69 anywhere in the world, okay? So for $69, trust me, adding this to your new patient process is a no-brainer. I'm looking at in the future with new franchisees that come on board, everyone gets this test. I think for clinical effectiveness as a doctor, we're foolish not to do it on every single patient that walks in the door for $69. It's a no-brainer.
Joe, question for you. On the CRP for inflammatory, would that kind of give you a marker for like rheumatoid arthritis or anything?
It's a factor, but sedimentation rate, and there's numerous other autoimmune factors, but it's one factor, yes. But it's not going to be all-inclusive like that's autoimmune. The platinum metabolic profile is the same lipids, the CBC, the Chem14, the vitamin D, the C-reactive protein A1C, and there's a number of different general analytes that are down in this panel right here. Liver marker, homocysteine, which is for the heart, ferritin and iron. These are important. The total iron binding capacity, LD, which is liver, magnesium, phosphate, uric acid. That's all another part. What I want to do, Michelle, to this panel is I want to add a full thyroid panel to this platinum one. It's going to add another $100, so I know that it's going to go from $169 to $269, but on the high-end panel to add a full thyroid panel for $269, it's $100, but I really want to make this panel with thyroid. Okay, so just so you know, Michelle and I are in discussion with that.
Just TSH and T4, or are you going to run?
Yeah, no, the full.
We've got a slide that's going to show you
Both of the autoimmune, the reverse T3, the free T4, full panel. So it'll be $269 for that. That's not going to be every patient. I would eliminate this from I shouldn't have this on here. I would do everything on this one because that report is not available for this one. So don't do this. This is just a replacement for the MetaLife program. Do this second one, $69. Again, the third one will be changed most likely, and you could give me your advice, your insight on that. If you guys think that's a smart move, it's going to go up $100, but it's going to be the full thyroid panel for $269.
Thyroid is epidemic. I think it's huge.
Tell them what we do
What do we do?
with like the x-rays.
Oh.
Sorry, I was explaining this to him.
Oh, well, he wanted me to tell you, when he started doing functional in the office, and he would, all of his people who came in specifically for functional, he would have them come to me on the chiropractic side. And every time I took a lateral cervical, I would see thyroid. So now
You would see thyroid, what do you mean?
I'd see you could see the thyroid calcified.
Oh, you see calcification, okay.
Yeah, and so, I mean, now I just automatically, I see a thyroid on x-ray, and I use that as an indicator for them that their thyroid's not functioning at its full potential, that we need to check in. And that's cheap.
Yeah,
If
it's
you
very
get
cheap.
that cash,
No,
that's
for $100, get a full thyroid panel, a comprehensive thyroid panel. You can't beat it. So now I'm going to explain how to add this. I would not add the lab test on day one with your x-ray or your exam. I would add it to the care plan. Okay? Add it to the care plan. So if you have like a $1,800 care plan, it's a $2,100 care plan. Or if it's $2,000, it's a couple $100 more. Add it to the care plan. Okay?
So another thing I think also, because so many people are in this whole thyroid condition, I think not having it would be good. It would be better to have it, because everyone you talk to someone, oh, my doctor's checking my thyroid.
Yeah, I think we have to do thyroid on this one because it's a rampant issue. It's funny, I was talking to 2 chiropractors in Seattle for like 2-3 hours last week, and they just do thyroid and diabetes. That's all they do. You have to be diagnosed with thyroid or hypothyroidism. Those are the only people they see. They do a workshop, and then they do a plan. Their plans are cash pay only, between $8,000 and $12,000 per plan, and they fix thyroid and type 2 diabetes. The results are phenomenal, and they only accept about 15 cases a month, and that's it. And if you're gonna come in that office, you're gonna do what they say, or their plan of getting it in is unbelievable. So think about $150,000 a month cash practice with 15 people a month. That's all you have coming in. It's just phenomenal business, but the results are outstanding. They're changing thyroid and diabetes and keeping people off insulin, and they're keeping people off thyroid medications, and they're changing their life. But they're only accepting that many people. But I'm just showing you the higher end on the capacity, on the value of this service. If you help someone with diabetes, what the potential is for that. And those chiropractors are like, well, I'll charge $500 for that. Guys, you're keeping them off chronic medication for 30, 40 years. You're making an impact to their life that's better than anything medicine has to offer. And that's the opportunity.
Synthetic.
What?
What they're doing is giving them Synthroid, which
Yeah.
is synthetic, and then your body gets used to it, and all of a sudden you're on 0.025, and then 0.5.
And when they say my doctor's already checked my thyroid, they've only checked their TSH.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming from the nursing home, all they do is check TSH and T4.
Yeah.
We don't check anything else.
So-
Basic level.
Yeah, on a business standpoint, for me, is I look at the medical failures as opportunity. Not only get people healthy, but there's a business model. When they're failing at management of simple things like diabetes, managing blood sugar, come on guys, this is like 1950 nutrition, how to handle blood sugar. This isn't rocket science. But if you could make a nice return on your time and you could save someone's life and change their life, why wouldn't you do that? Like, it's foolish not to. I'm not saying you have to charge $8,000 to $12,000. I'm just showing you the value of the service that you have in your hand, okay? Next one is a thyroid. We're going to do this either as an add-on to any other profile, but we're going to build it into this platinum one. This is the full thyroid panel. You'll know if it's inactive thyroid. You'll know if it's an autoimmune disease. You'll know everything about it. And I don't want you worried if you're scared of these, like, I don't know all this stuff. Just recommend the test. We will walk you through every single piece of it, okay? We'll interpret it for you. We'll teach you. Don't have any fear. Okay, I'm going to show you the other 3 panels, and these are salivary panels. First one is an adrenal profile, which is DHEA and cortisol, 4 cortisol samples, and DHEA. Okay, that's the adrenal panel. Next one is a hormone profile. It's the same adrenal plus these sex hormones, testosterone, estradiol, estrogen, and progesterone. Okay, that's the second level panel. The third panel is a complete hormone profile, which is the panel above, but we're doing the other estrogens, estriol, and the E3, estrone, the 17-hydroxyprogesterone, DHT, and 3 melatonin tests. And we'll go over that as well in detail. I know that's a little complex for those of you not doing this all the time, but trust me, 4 or 5 tests, you'll own it.
It's important to note, too, at this time, the salivary profiles that you just talked about, the adrenal, hormone, and total hormone profile, do not come with a functional health report, but it is in the works, I believe, and maybe Michelle can update us. But there's a system being built right now where we'll be able to implement the protocols into that as well.
Yeah, it may wind up being kits. There's a couple different things that we should talk about in terms of building these out so they can get the functional health report. There's a way to do it.
Okay.
It's just, we need to talk about
So
it.
what do we get now?
But I can tell you the pricing that you have on these panels is amazing. I mean, I've never seen it.
I beat them up pretty good, right? Yeah, we beat them up. They're still a little bloody.
I mean, you guys can even look for yourselves, like, you're not going to find, even like on our basic adrenal profile, I mean, it's at least $100.
Yeah, and if we don't use them, Michelle's going to take it away from us. So why don't we gotta use these.
Better with an FHR. Standalone, they're great.
So there's so much excitement in this, and again, this is what I'm going to be teaching hours on. There's a lot of value here. I'm going to give you just a couple of little exciting points about this.
And while we're on this slide, too, how many of you guys were using our labs before? Okay. The thing we didn't really talk about, and you're going to probably see it when you look at the price sheet, is we've not only improved pretty much all of the labs, but they're actually cheaper for you. Your price has gone down, and they've gotten better.
And the service.
And the service, and that, we didn't have the
And now you
functional
get a
health
functional
reports. Yes,
report.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Take
it's
stress away about having to hand them a kit and do all the work
And you can make it more,
negotiate, price,
yeah. So it's more tests, cheaper price,
streamline.
better reporting. So
Confidence, because with the reporting comes the knowledge next to it. I mean, it's not, oh, what was that hemoglobin supposed to be
Yeah.
off the top of your head? It's having the confidence to talk to the patient here. This is what came back.
we have a report for you that provides every single one of these. What does it mean if it's high, or what does it mean if it's low? On a nutritional standpoint, what to do. We have a nice report. You'll get so excited to get, not that they don't have it already when you get your lab report, but just to stand alone so you can like study and look at it and say, when hemoglobin goes up, A1C, if it goes too low or too high, what are things you can do? Just a nice educational piece, and we'll email that to everyone.
Joe, do we give this to the patient, even the profile?
Yes, there's a patient one, and there is a doctor one. Patient one's simpler. Has that gone around the room? Has everyone seen the report?
Well, I'm trying to look at Dr. Tom's. I don't know if he's got the patient.
Diane, do you have?
I had put the 2 copies up there, I'm not sure what happened. There were
start
mine.
getting circulated.
I have mine.
Okay, here's the patient one. I'll stand on this side of the room, and the practitioner one I'll put on this side of the room. Just spend a couple minutes and flip through so you can see, and we're going to be going over this for the next step.
We have Michelle at the booth, too, and we're going to have copies of it there, too. so.
Joe, people who got their report, is that doctor and patient when we did it?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to differentiate.
You have yours?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just trying to differentiate. This is,
It should say, you know what, even you can go sit by Michelle for 2 minutes. She'll tell you exactly what it is while we're doing it. Okay, I want to keep moving along. So you flip through and look at the reports. So what I was going to say is I just want to give you some excitement on what these labs can do. Anyone have a 45-year-old woman come in with severe chronic fatigue, suffering from depression, a little anxiety, taking antidepressants, sleeping pills at night, relationships on the rocks, doesn't want to, has trouble with, doesn't want to work necessarily, overwhelmed with kids. No one's ever met that woman before? No. Well, this report will help that. Anyone have that person that is having trouble getting to sleep? So they're wired all night, and then in the morning they're tired. Wired at night, tired in the morning. Ever met that person? So this melatonin test here, we're going to be able to tell you delayed sleep phase cycle, which basically is you're secreting melatonin too late at night, starting at like 12 or 1 in the morning. And then the melatonin is still getting secreted at 8 in the morning, so you're still tired. And we're going to teach you how to move that. So melatonin starts secreting at 9 at night, and it ends at 5 in the morning, so they wake up and they go to bed. We're going to teach you how to reset the circadian rhythm with lighting, with melatonin, with our relaxing calm supplementation. We're going to show you how to reset the circadian rhythm. It's really cool, and we can post-test to show you melatonin movement. Really, really cool. That's going to help that person that's on chronic sleeping pills. What else? So these thyroid cases, thyroid. Anyone have someone that's chronically constipated, dry skin all the time, weight gain, cold? That's your thyroid cases. So we could go on what you're going to find in here. The vitamin D, you're going to see 80% of your patient base is deficient. You're going to be like, are you kidding? This lab is broken. There's something wrong. Can't be everyone's vitamin D deficient. You're going to be shocked at how many need it, especially those kids that are coming in that no one's looking at. No one's looking at vitamin D in children, okay? Okay, so I just want to skip over this one because it doesn't even provide a report. If we want to talk, we'll talk about the second one, which is the advanced metabolic profile. When do you use this second one? Same as a metabolic profile. First patient visit. General wellness annually. How many people think every year, what if you send an email to patients, your inactive patient base, it's time for your wellness visit, wellness lab test again? Do you think you can get reactivations? If we send an email, and we can do that for you, those of you in AlignLife, we can do an automatic email if you approve it, that will send an email out automatically for you for your inactives every year to do the wellness lab profile. What else? If you're evaluating success of a program, if you suspect metabolic syndrome or diabetes, typical, I'm sorry, I'm down here. Typical people. Wait a minute, I'm sorry. I was down here, so it includes everything above plus additional things. Reduced bone density, suspected viral, bacterial, parasitic infections, if they have allergies, kidney or liver concerns, muscle atrophy, malabsorption syndrome, protein deficiency. You can see it's the majority of your patient base. Presenting symptoms, people that are in chronic pain, people that are chronic fatigue, immune compromised, liver kidney issues. So that gives you an idea on this panel. The more comprehensive panel, the list is just a lot bigger. Has all the thyroid symptoms, and we'll go over those real quick. The depression, brittle nails, constipation, dry skin, enlarged thyroid, high cholesterol. How many people know that most cholesterol problems are low thyroid? It's a side effect of hypothyroidism, and they're just giving these cholesterol drugs. Really, most of the time, it's a thyroid issue. Irritability, sensitivity to cold, sexual dysfunction, slow heart rate, sluggishness, irregular uterine bleeding. These are all symptoms of the thyroid. So when do you give the more advanced test? If someone's more sick and they want and they need more testing. So But on an average, I think everyone should do the $69 test. The next test is the thyroid. We talked about the three. There's two hormones the thyroid secretes, T3, T4. We're testing both of those. These two are for autoimmune diseases of the thyroid. TSH, most people know what that is. That's the precursor to thyroid hormone. And reverse T3, which is the inactive form of T3. I won't go over these because I already talked about those. Other add-ons that you can add on is the sex hormone binding globulin, free testosterone, hemoglobin A1C, and just vitamin D. If you want to add vitamin D to any test, you just add it.
Can I just add to, when you're picking your panels, remember that classes will charge you a $10 drop fee. So it will go to your account, and so you're going to make sure to pass that expense over to your patients. But also, whether you order one test or 20 tests, it's going to be $10.
Okay.
We have that, yeah, that's a good call out. We have that information on, I believe in your bags, there should be a sheet that had the pricing for the new labs. There's information about that as well.
Okay.
Joe, when I went there, because we have another lab that we use that I have draw.
Yeah.
Book in the mountain, the book in the medical, and they were billing me all the time $25. So they actually take the patient's insurance and was charging for the draw. So that, if you go to the lab, I actually went there and I talked to them. They said, we'll bill the insurance for that, for the draw.
Okay.
So just, you gotta just go there and physically talk to them and make the arrangements that with the manager of the Quest lab.
Okay.
Now they wanna keep getting the bill all the time.
Yeah.
So I said,
We
listen,
just have them pay the $10 and not get involved. I want to make it simple. Just pay the $10 and be done. Okay, so now we'll go over the actual lab. I'm going to let Josh talk through the actual report. Hopefully everyone saw the report. We're going to go into the report a little more in detail. So if you want to do that.
Yep. All right, here's the juice, guys. Has anybody, how many people have gotten a chance to look at it? You gonna mic me up? Yeah, I got a really loud voice. I'm gonna.
Well, it's going to be on the miking it for the.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. So has everybody got a chance to kind of look through that yet? A little bit? Maybe not? It's all right because we're going to go through each section here. Just kind of give an overview of what the section is. Just make sure you guys are comfortable with it. Let me see, a table of contents. Okay. Yeah, you guys, it's a little bit small, so you may not be able to see this, but you guys have the slides, but they still may be too small. So first of all, so we'll go ahead and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 different sections in the practitioner report. Some of this information, it's just a little bit redundant. It just provides information in kind of a new way, maybe a different chart or something. So you don't have to be an expert on all 10 sections. Really, you'll probably be looking through about like 5 or 6 sections as you get comfortable with this. But initially, when you guys start, I think it's a good idea to go through each section and just kind of see which ones you like and which ones you get the feel for the information a little bit better. You'll be drawn to certain sections, at least I was. The red arrows those represent the sections that are part of the patient's report. So everything, there's a practitioner copy and a patient copy. The patient copy, you will have all of that information in your practitioner report. And the sections that are in the patient report are the ones that are a little bit less information, less details that you as a practitioner would need to know. The first section is the health improvement plan. I really like this section. I'll just show you an example here.
You use that so you're not looking backwards.
Gotcha. Yeah, this, for example, this is just from a sample report here. So this particular patient's labs indicated that they had hypoglycemia. So not only does it say, hey, your patient likely has hypoglycemia, it gives you the rationale why. It's going to give you the actual labs that triggered, the abnormal labs that triggered the, basically the algorithm to put your patient in that category, and then it actually educates you on that condition as well. And then it gives you actual products, Aceva products have been built into there. And I spent a lot of time actually detailing out not only just like a basic description of what the product is, like if you went to our website, you'll just find, you'll find a lot of information there, but it's just more of like a general description of like what daily balance is, what relax and calm is. But actually on this health improvement plan for each specific condition, I spoke to how the product actually affects that condition. So it's very detailed to help educate you guys.
Is there a section for contraindications for certain medications?
That's a good question. I don't know that that's on there, the contraindications for medications.
No, that does not come with any FHR or functional health report.
Josh, you can add our
Julie, you gotta beat them up a little bit more, come on.
Yeah, that can be tricky sometimes with certain medications, like if someone's on like Coumadin and warfarin, you just know like omega-3s, that may interact. So you just want to have them check with their doctor on that kind of thing. But that's a great question. That's a great point.
No kale, no spinach.
I know it's an epidemic of how many people are on the blood thin. Don't get me started on that. So it's just going to show a couple other examples here. Like here's another one with hyperlipidemia. So it walks you through like which labs were altered to call this condition out on that report, educate you on what the condition actually is, and then gives you the product recommendation and how that product actually can help impact that condition in a positive manner. There's just another one for vitamin D needs. So not only is it condition, but it's also nutrient based as well. And that's just B vitamins. The next section is the product summary report. So that first section, that we just went through, gave you not only the products, the conditions, but all the details. So this section here is just more of like a simplified kind of sheet that's gonna, like this is actually in the patient's report too, like it's just showing you, here's what we recommend. And as you can see over on the the right side, there's a little boxes that you can check off for the patient. Kind of like the prescription pad kind of a concept, so you'll just check the box for each product. And you'll also see, and it's kind of hard to see on the slides here, but sometimes products will show up more than once because a patient will, they've kind of fallen into multiple buckets where a product can help them, like hyperlipidemia, like let's just say like blood sugar dysregulation, sugar balance may be recommended, but then it's also recommended again in the hyperlipidemia because that product can also help with that. So you'll see some redundancies there, but it flags them for you in red. And it just goes to, it's another just kind of just shines light on the fact that the products are formulated in a sense that they're going to help multiple conditions. So don't just think like even Colex, there's some other benefits outside of just cholesterol, even for a product like that as well. The next section is the actual blood test results portion. And I really like this section because it's color coded. Like the yellow was caution, that's like out of the optimal range. Red was out of the normal range, like Dr. Esposito was talking. Those are ones that you guys should be able to handle comfortably in the office. And then the pink is like the, you probably should send your patient to the hospital range. So it's nice to have that color coding. And here you'll actually see it flags each one for you. So you'll see each marker, and then based on the patient's specific lab, it color codes it for you. So if there's no color at all, that means like they're within normal, they're not outside of the optimal range. If they're out of the optimal range, it's yellow. Out of the normal range, it's red. and then the alarm is pink there. And also you'll see the, based on the little columns there, you'll have their previous or their current lab panel, and then it puts their previous results right next to it. And I don't know if
you go up to the screen and show them the arrow up and down, red or green, starts to change. Like you can point to that.
Yeah, there's actually like little thumbs up or thumbs down. It's really cool. You'll see it on the actual reports there, and it'll say if like your patient's marker has improved or if it hasn't improved. So yeah, this is one of my favorite sections there.
Josh, look at the patient portion. I don't see where it says about the nutrition, like you check off.
Because those are samples, so that's not an integrated one with our line.
Okay.
If you do your own lab report, you'll see the product line in there. But the samples will not have product.
Yeah, good. Yeah, so like when you're looking at the sample report, it's like 27 pages just because there's no information. But when you get that full detailed report, your report will be longer, but it's because it's got all the products and algorithms and everything built out into there. This is the next section, the percent deviation from optimal report. So this just kind of categorizes things based on like how far from the optimal or normal range that your markers are. So the markers that are here at the top are the ones that you'll really want to spend some time looking at, because those are the most abnormal deviations. And then also the ones farthest on the next page, the bottom ones you'll see. So if a marker, you'll see optimal reference range and you'll see like the middle. So you want them in the middle. The more they skew out over here to the right, that's high, and then the other way is low. So you'll be able to see that represented nicely on that graph when you get to look at one up close. And then this one is just like a follow-up, this next section, out of optimal range report. It just goes through and shows you and basically educates you at those markers that you need to spend a lot more focus on. It actually gives you like a detailed explanation of like what can occur, like if that marker's too high, like homocysteine here, that's increasing your risk for cardiovascular disease, if that one's high. And then it also shows you if it's low as well, so an either or case there.
And those of you who are not very versed in this work since you were in school, this knowledge base, when you read this, it tells you what does it mean, it tells you what nutrients you can give, it tells you what diseases, and when you read this, it's going to get you right back in shape of where you were clinically, back in school on this type of work if you haven't been in it in a while. So within 5 tests, you'll start owning it. But this is the juice for the clinician right here. Okay?
And realistically, like this section here, like someone like myself, I love to like geek out on all this stuff and understand all of that, but like whether or not you actually need to fully understand everything, just don't feel like you have to get everything that's in here. This is just for like the geeky people like me and Dr. Esposito and some of the other guys in here that want to like know all that stuff. So this may even be like a section that you really even don't spend a lot of time on. You just saw the previous section, out of the ones that were, the markers that you really need to focus a lot on. And then it's like, I know that's abnormal. I have a general idea of, okay, that's high homocysteine, the cardiovascular function's compromised, and I know what products, and you guys can also implement your, dietary recommendations and things like that.
If you're Dr. Beatenbaugh, you can just say, Kimberly Gray, red is bad, green is good. Here you go. And hand it off. That's basically the way you can do it, right?
How it's done now.
Do you show, variations, I know you said in the last slide that you show high normals on certain things where high normals are significant from a function, are all these red on a functional scale, not on the traditional?
Yeah, this is right here, it has a call out, it's optimal reference ranges, so it's based on optimal, not normal.
Right, and then so that optimal range goes down into what would be considered high normals on your average blood work comes from?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Good question. The next section is the functional index report. And this basically breaks down like, you know, functional nutrition or functional medicine. You have like functional systems and functional categories like immune, toxicity, heavy metals. Like how many of you guys like know like kind of that functional, you don't even have to know like the functional language, but most of you probably are drawn to that. Most of your patients that are coming to see you will have some idea like what toxicity is or what heavy metal, immune dysregulation. So this actually categorizes based on the algorithms that are built into the program and your patient's labs. It kind of, you know, tells you how likely that their systems are imbalanced in those different functional categories. So it gives you like a scoring guide here. So like 90 to 100%, that's dysfunction is highly likely. So like in this example, the lipid panel index was the first one, and that's 100%. So although you will see 100%, just, you know, there is a nice disclaimer that I'm going to talk about at the end, but you're not diagnosing anything. This is just kind of putting it out there that it's likely that your patient is suffering from these imbalances here. So, and again, it's nice, it's on a graph, it's very easy to look at. Things that are 0%, it's like, okay, sex hormone index for the male, this, you know, that's not something we really need to address right now, that's fine, but we definitely need to look at the lipids, the blood, prostate function. So do you see how like simple this is all laid out graphically? It's very appealing, color coded. You guys see that?
Yep.
All right. And then the next section is the nutrient index report. So this breaks it down into categories such as like your macronutrients like carbohydrates, fats, proteins, also vitamins, minerals, and hydration status. Just the way that the algorithms and the labs, they can give you different insight into these systems and categories as well. And it's the same scoring system, 90 to 100% is like they most likely have it, whereas 0% is like they don't need to address that right now.
So on the last two slides, it said the person had a lipid problem. The next slide says there's a carbohydrate issue. That makes sense, right? The lipids are off, their triglycerides and their cholesterol is too high. You got to cut your carbohydrates. This chart tells you in diet, let's cut the carbohydrates out. So it's very simple and it guides you very easily. Okay.
And then in that nutrient index, there's actually another a section that's called nutrient deficiencies. So this will actually detail out specific nutrient deficiencies that need to be addressed with either that supplementation or your education on how to help those dietary needs as well. So like in this particular example, vitamin D need, that's at 100%. It's like, okay, we know this person needs to bring up their vitamin D. You know, get them outside in the natural sunlight when possible, and then they'll most likely need supplementation as well. This person also needed zinc, so something like the Daily Balance has a really good dose of zinc in there that can help. Thiamine, Daily Balance is also going to help with that. B12. So as you can see there, it's nice that the products are built into here, and you don't even have to think about that kind of stuff. Although you guys will be making, you know, connections as you go along, and as you go through these reports, it's going to be easier and easier to interpret these things.
So if you want to just use this just to give supplement recommendations, you could write off this chart, say, here's your issues, here's some of the supplements, and you call it a day, and you're going to get the patient healthier. If you want to build it into a functional plan where you're consulting with them with their diet and their nutrients, you could use it for that. You could take it as far as you want, but at least you have the data.
I just realized this too, that I say something great. My staff told me that on our, at least on mine, it doesn't say anything about C, but it's got another product, and it's not even talking about our products.
Hmm.
Will be related to our products?
Yes, it may have just been like a sample report that was generated before we had our algorithms built into there.
When did you get it done?
Last week,
Last week.
on Friday, Monday, Thursday.
Can I see it?
Sure.
Because it should always be a Seaver product, only a Seaver product.
I think since yours had a lot of sexual dysfunction in yours.
Oh my God.
Now it makes sense. It's all coming together.
And then the next section is recommended further testing. So this section's nice, you know, if you want to dig a little bit deeper. Like this example, zinc deficiency. So it just gives you, actually there's not another like actual lab that you can do for zinc to find that out, but they give you like a zinc taste test that you can do to kind of, if you want to dig a little bit deeper. So this is somebody who wants to do a little bit more, more than just the basics, you know, this section here. And then the last section is just the blood test history report. It's just showing your patient's current labs, how they've compared to the previous labs. Again, all nice and color-coded. Shows if it's gone up or down, so it's a nice thing to display visually for your patient. It's in the patient copy as well. Clinical dysfunctions report. So this is kind of just another way of looking at the information that I spoke to on a previous section. Actually, the health improvement plan, the very first section, this is just another way of looking at it visually. Because on the health improvement plan, if you guys remember, there was the first example was hypoglycemia, explained details about the conditions, the rationale of why the patient likely has that dysfunction, and then it had the actual product recommendation. Well, this section here is just showing it to you visually. So you can kind of see what your preference is. If you want to know all the details, the health improvement plan may be the one you want to spend most of the time on. If you're someone that doesn't like all those details, this is just an easier way to look at that.
Yeah, I think for the patient, 3 charts, and we'll talk about that later. This chart just shows what the high risk is. They don't need a lot of data. 3 charts is enough for that patient to understand what's going on.
That's a great chart.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
KISS, keep it, yep, simple. Sweet and simple. And then this was...
That just breaks down that previous chart.
Yeah, it's just basically giving you all the geeky details. And then there is a disclaimer. So again, like even if, you know, I said something about 100% likely someone had hyperlipidemia, or, you know, it's just based on the algorithm. It was that strong that it gave 100%. But again, you're not diagnosing any disease. So this disclaimer's in there. It's something that you can either, you know, just be aware of that. And it's in the patient version as well. So they've had the disclaimer sitting in front of them. This is for educational purposes only. Because you don't want to get any legal issues out of something like that. So, lab guide.
Oh, this is the guide if you guys want this as a report. You can just text this phone number, text the word lab, and you'll get the full report via text. It's just a report breaking down each analyte and the highs and lows in a separate report. So you just text, instead of a name, you put that phone number, and then you text the word lab. So if you guys want that, and if you don't put it in here, you can call us, we'll just email you, but I just wanted to give a quick way for you guys to grab the report if you want. I'll give you a second of those that want to do it. Again,
Can everybody see that, or you want me to say it out loud, or?
in the name column, just put the phone number 832-532-9000, and then in the message, just put the word lab, and you'll get that report that I was talking about earlier. And if you don't text it, just call Asiva and we'll send it to you. No worries. I know some of you want to memorize.
I see a few people looking,
Joe,
scrambling for
you want to do
pens,
the
so-
section to go over the patient? I think that's next.
Yeah, I can, Okay. Yeah.
On the nutrient recommendations, are those the dosages, is that customized to that current patient's test, or is that?
No,
So
that,
don't question it, I did do that. I did do that.
okay.
I detailed it out for the specific, and again, that you may have a different, it's just a, you know, you can take that, or you, if you wanna say, hey, they may not need that, you may know the patient a little bit better, like, we recommend, you know, 4 to 6 omega-3s, and you're like, well, I don't wanna start them out with that many, let's start them out with like 2 or something, you can always, you know, change that.
I didn't know he had that, but it was based on the level of dysfunction, right?
Yeah, because I built in the product, so in there is the product, I educate you why that product's being recommended for that condition, and the dosing is actually based on that condition versus just like general, you know, take 2 to 4 of this, take 1 a day. I actually, it's no, take 2 to 3, that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, now we'll go over some interpretation. Let me just see something. And this is the final part of this. And then I want to open up for questions. We'll have about 20 minutes left over. I left extra time for questions. I want to really beat this up. Go through the reports and let's talk through it. But really, when you're interpreting the data to the patient, I recommend only 4 things to show them. Again, let's keep it simple. That was all the technical stuff. Now you know what's in the lab. Now let's make it really, really simple, okay? So in the lab report, what I would do is I would show the blood test results, which is the color-coded one. Here are the things that were out of normal range. Yellow is not good. Red is something we really have to deal with. And you're just going to talk through it with the patient. And then I would go to 2 charts. The functional index chart, which is that red graph that shows blood sugar's off and prostate is off and that is off. That's the chart, okay? That was that red color chart. I would show that one. And then I would show the nutrient index report. You got a vitamin deficiency, protein, or whatever it is, those deficiencies. And then I would go back up to the top and do the product report.
You know what, I've actually got a handout with this on there, so if I see some people writing it down, I've got a handout that breaks all this down.
And those are only the 4 things that you need to go over with the patient. It's that simple. You don't need to go over and don't pay, just like x-rays, first time you show an x-ray to a patient, you're like, okay, we're going to start out at the atlantoaxial ligament, and we're going to work down to the ischial tubes, and then follow the ramus, and you know, you're not going to do that. You're going to take the major parts of the x-ray, loss curve, hip rotation, short leg, whatever it is, you're going to hit the key points. Same thing. This, I'd say 10 minutes. Like, Doc, let's say you want to go over this in 3 to 4 minutes, and then you want to hand it off to the staff to go a little deeper and really spend another 15 minutes on it, go over the products. You're just going to go over the condition. In the labs, there's 3 things we got to look at. We got a blood sugar issue, we got a cardiac issue, and there's a thyroid. So Kimberly Gray is going to go a little in detail on what we need to do to solve the problem. If any other questions, I'll follow up in a month, and you're done. Or she may just say, Dr. Biedenbaugh is concerned on 3 things. These are 3 things. You don't necessarily even have to be involved, as long as you looked at it. And what I would do as a doc, I'd initial the bottom of it just on the lab, and you're good. And just hand it off. Docs, you should know what's going on, but you don't have to spend the time. It's not your department. You're a chiropractor. Okay? So that's basically how I would do it. I don't want you guys to sit here and try to interpret a 40-page report. That's not. And if you're a lone doc with 1 staff, these 4, and that's it. I would schedule the consults outside of your adjusting time, obviously, maybe a day off, or before your prime time adjusting. Let's say it's 2 to 3 before you start. You do 2 consults, 2 half-hour consults, okay, during that time. Okay, again, we have some extra time. If you guys want to, we're supposed to go about 3:40, we have about 20 minutes. If there's no questions, we can get started early, and we'll be done a little early, but I want to open it up. What concerns, questions on the actual lab profile does anyone have? Or how to interpret? Tom, what's your thoughts? Resistance in implementation of this in the practice?
No, I think you streamlined it pretty well. You made it, you know, but I know that some people like look at it and go, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming, but once you times, and it's like, oh, you get it, and it just becomes like, second nature to you.
So do you think the $69 putting it in a care plan is a no-brainer? Or?
That's all. Like I put in orthotics and pillows and rollers in my care plan. It's part of their plan to get them help them get better. So you just put that in there. It's like, you're not going to say no to a care plan because it's $69 more.
I know.
You know what I mean? Just put it in.
Yeah. Excellent. Anyone else?
Can I ask a quick question too?
Yes.
You thought about running it again, so you make your recommendations, lifestyle changes, can you get your...
Yeah, I would, guys, if you put in the care plan, I put for 69, I put 2, so it's 130 or so, 128, and you're doing a pre and a post. And then 90 days later, it's done. Yeah, 90 days retest. At the end, or 4 months, if you're doing a 4-month care plan, do it at the 4-month mark. And just protocol.
And you don't have to ask for money again.
Yeah, don't ask for money. Put it right in the care plan. It's $128, guys. So put it in the care plan, and then your post-test. Look at this. You're changing neurology. You're changing musculoskeletal function, pre-post x-ray. You're looking at the lab report, pre-post. Think about that end care plan, how beautiful of a report that would be. You can do post-body comp, post-x-ray, post-lab, and you guys close out that initial intensive care with such objective strength and show them why they need corrective care to move forward. The data speaks for itself, guys. Then put them into wellness. You have a lot of objective value. I love that. You had a question? Yeah. Yeah, I think 3 to 4 months, and if we're doing in AlignLife, we're doing a 4-month intensive care program, I'd recommend a 4-month retest. Add the 130 to your plan, and that's going to bring in another $1,500 to $2,000 revenue if they decide to move forward with a program in nutrition. Of the people that you do the labs, you may have 4 out of 10 take the advanced program. That's okay. If they don't want it, they don't pay for it. You're not out any time or effort or money. But those that want it get the high-end care, and they pay for that service.
And then another question. Like let's say someone, they're recommending, 8, 10 different nutrients. Because I get a lot of complaints. People say, well, I just don't want to take all these nutrients. It's hard to take them. Is it just suck it up, shut up, and do it?
It's always better pre-frame any objection. So the pre-frame is, I got your lab report back, and there's a number of things that are in crisis, and these crises didn't start yesterday. You worked very hard to get in this crisis. You did a very good job getting here. So we're going to have to take time and effort, and this isn't going to work if you're not willing to commit to it. Like I have a list that I'll send you on going into the nutrition side. It's separate from chiropractic. It requires you to make your health a priority. It requires you to make some dietary changes and take supplementation. If you're not willing to do it, I'd rather not even go through that program. I'll just tell you what the results of lab is. If you want me to go down that road, this is after I get the lab tested, before I sit down with them. So if you want me to spend the time to explain a program, are you in that mode of wanting to make lifestyle changes or not? If not, I won't invest your time, my time or your time wasting on that. No, I definitely want to do, okay, well, let's sit down and go over it. But let me give clarity. You're going to take a decent amount of nutritional products in order to get us out of crisis. If you're not comfortable with that, we won't do that consultation. So, and that's short term. 4 months later, we'll just go on wellness nutrition. Hopefully you have your dietary changes in sync, and then we'll drop down the nutrients. But for the short term, yes, it's going to be more. I also always teach a difference between drugs and nutrients. Drugs are, most of the time, are being used to block a receptor so you don't feel or notice something in the body. It's not necessarily fixing. Nutrition, we're giving a bulk of an item the body's using to fix a functional issue. Does that make sense? So like I'm giving a bulk of, like I'm shoveling in magnesium into the body. I need bulk of magnesium to get to all the cells of the body. I don't need bulk of a pain pill to block a receptor in the brain. I need just a little bit. I'm not giving it to all the cells. I'm blocking perception in the brain. There's a difference there. So let's say magnesium, I got to bulk it very much until the whole cellular matrix of the body reaches a saturation point to get an outcome. That takes more capsules. So it's kind of weird, but that's just the way clinical nutrition is.
I also tell them too, I'm like, you got to think of your body like a watch. You got big gears, little gears, and little gears drive big gears. And so when you're doing nutrition, the idea is that some of these gears are stripped or not working, and we got to get those gears moving so that the big gears can turn. And so that is nutrition. So unfortunately, they're like, why do I got to take 7 things? I'm like, well, because that's the glue between every gear. Like, that's what's going to drive the next gear, which is going to tell the time right. If you don't do it together, that can't promise you the right time. And
Yeah.
they take it. You know what I mean? They end up doing it because it really is like if there's something that's essential to it, and you're driving that process and you miss it, you're not gonna get the outcome you want.
And I want to go back to Jake's question with more supplements. It's the same question on more money. You got to understand this person invested in chiropractic, and you got to be very clear, very confident, a lot of conviction in doing this stage. So you want to do a strong push away on this service because it's not an upsell where you're trying to sell them on a new program. Do not sell them on this, okay? Because then it looks like you're just trying to make more revenue for your clinic. You want to push it away. We have the lab test back. There are findings. I need to know from you if you just want me to go over some of the findings or if you want to embrace the other side of our office, which is the wellness side, which is where we teach you lifestyle nutrition so you live in overall optimal health, in addition to what we're doing chiropractic. It's not for everyone, okay? If you want that, I'll sit down and go over it, but it's a separate investment, it's a separate program, and it's another level of results. So there's 4 things I'm very concerned about in the labs, and I'll go over those in detail. But if you're not into the lifestyle change mindset, I completely understand. We won't go down that road. How do you feel? When they want that, then you're going to sit down, and they know there's another cost. They know it's another program, and they're going to take their health another level. If they don't want it, don't waste your time. Just tell them what the issues are and hand them the lab test. Don't go down that road.
When they're ready, they'll come back.
Yeah, and if they're ready, they come back. They already know they're getting results in chiropractic. They believe, like Joe said, they trust you, they believe in you, and they're most likely to want it. But if you just go right into like this sale thing, like, hey, $1,800, there you go, nutrition, it's a very poor way of approach.
Is this going to replace the metabolic profile for MetaLife?
I want to do away with the first one, which is just, the reason it was so limited was the cost on skin prick is higher, right. And I can only do so much in a skin prick. Now for $69, I can give you the full functional report, that 30-page report, which opens the Pandora's box for Kimberly Gray to take weight loss to another level. You still do the MetaLife. After MetaLife 4 months, you redo the test for that $69 and see what's left over. Then she could sell the next program or do whatever she needs to do at that time. Okay?
Just a comment. You guys ever see that diagram of the United States and it shows the obesity rate, how it went from like 2 states or or whatever percentage obese, and now it's like there's a whole different level of obesity across the country. I've seen it in my practice. I used to see people get well really fast, whether it's get out of pain or even ear infections and kids going away. I mean, you see people get to a higher level of health really fast. I don't see that anymore. And when I start seeing these chronic things that are keep plaguing these people, when I get them into the functional side or into the nutritional side of things, that's when you see the adjustments actually start to take a better effect. So this stuff really matters. It makes a difference in how people function on a daily, every day, in their lives.
Yeah, I think we should end this talking about that for 5 or 10 minutes, the conviction on what this is. I'm in shock on what I've seen doing this work. Like jaw to the floor, pacing in the house at 3 in the morning, shock. To this day, every day, what I see doing this stuff. I'm talking people 90 days to live cancer, 4 years later, cancer-free, bone cancer, lymphatic cancer, breast cancer, cancer-free. I'm talking people on 3 antidepressants that are getting divorced, losing their job, renewing their vows 6 months later, recommitting their marriage. I'm talking kids that are social anxiety, ADHD, taking away the diagnosis of ADHD within 4 months from a psychologist saying they don't have it anymore. They don't have the disease anymore. Guys, this is like big deal. This fuels my fire, this stuff, because it's taking the power of neurology and chiropractic and taking it another whole level. I built 6 clinics in 6 years because of this. because the referrals that came back when you help a woman 20 years of depression and she's no longer depressed, she tells not 10 people, she tells 50 people. And they come from not 30 miles, they come from 100 miles away because no one in medicine knows how to fix this stuff. So the referrals are astronomical. Not that in chiropractic we can't give one adjustment and change any disease process because neurology is so intense. But I'm telling you, some of this stuff is bringing in these referrals that are unbelievable from all over the place. So I never had a problem with new patients, ever. And I had one clinic a year every year just when I started because of this stuff. So it will triple your business if you're looking at the economic side. But I went home every day, jaw to the floor on what the lives they're changing. We're talking massive amounts of medications that no longer needed across the town, massive amounts. You know, you look at someone on 14 medications that need none, none, 6 months later. Not that you're taking them off meds, but they're working with their doctor. And I'll tell you one story about that. I was doing a lecture on this work, and a local MD came to the talk, and at the end of the talk, first, I went to see him as a patient because I had a Hashimoto's and he wanted to radiate my thyroid. And this is really 18 years ago or something. I'm like, that doesn't sound logical. So I didn't do it. I found my gluten issues and all these other things. And you know, I no longer have the symptoms. I still have my thyroid and whatnot. And he came to one of my talks and he said, you know, it's basically all quackery and whatnot. And then I went to his office a year later, and he had all the labs that I said in his office, and he was doing everything that I said, but he had to first bash it, and then now he's doing 100%, 100% what we were saying. One more thought on that. I had I lost my thought. It was another medical story. Well, lost my thought on that. But anyway, medicine is so intrigued with this work. If they see what you do, they will leave what they're doing because they're not getting pre and post outcomes like this. They're just not, okay? And if you look at, I've had 3 or 4 cases from Mayo Clinic, $80,000 to $100,000, where I fixed with a simple $80 gut test or a heavy metal test that they failed at Mayo. You got to understand that in medicine, you know, if you go to a carpenter with a nail, what are they going to do with the nail? They're going to hit it with a hammer. So if you go to a better carpenter, what are they going to do with the nail? They're going to hit it better, but they're still going to hit the nail. You got to go to a different person, like an artist that's going to take the nail and make a sculpture or do something different. A chiropractor is going to have a different approach to this lab work than any level of medicine, whether it's your local clinic or Mayo Clinic. They're still following the same protocol. They're just doing better in the same line of thinking. You're using a whole level different thinking with this data. That's why the results are so phenomenally different. Okay, does that make sense?
So a question, right? And I heard this a long time ago, and it really changed the way I did practice and do business. And I didn't get it. Like I didn't get it, and I had a huge value issue with all of this. And once I got through this, once I got the statement I'm going to share with you, it completely changed the outcome of what I did. And what it was someone said to me, he said, if you were to give someone a keto diet, what's it worth? Like, what's it worth? How much would you charge for a keto diet? What would you charge for a keto diet, Carl? What do you think it's worth?
Change their life, can't put a price on it.
But can you get it online?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You get it all day, right? You can go out there and get, there's tons of information. That isn't the problem. It's what? It's follow through implementation. It's accountability. And, you know, someone said, if you charge $5,000 for a keto diet and it changed your life, and I was like, duh. It was like, duh. And that's why I sometimes come in and like, oh yeah, the keto diet, I've seen it online. I'm like, yeah, that's good.
And do you know why a clinic that's doing $8,000 to $10,000 for a thyroid, natural thyroid management, do you know why they're so successful? Because the compliance is through the roof because they paid a lot of money. They could give the same program free and the results would have been really bad.
And having somebody to support you through it.
Yeah, accountability to the whole way. I mean, they're holding your hand the whole way, and that's an interesting point, because for that kind of money, they're calling them, they have an email series, they are on it, and it's all accountability.
So when you do this stuff, don't underestimate how powerful chiropractic and nutrition together is, and the diet. If you put it, give them a diet, and put them and hold accountability to it. And I will tell you this. So what was my next point was, if you charge too little, you're hurting them. You're hurting them. I know that sounds so wacky, but you're actually taking away from their health. I had the hardest time overcoming that. Like, I just didn't get that. It never resonated. I just couldn't get it in here. And I was like, you know what? It's so true. Like, if I gave you a bottle of wine and a bottle of wine, I told you one was a $100 bottle of wine, I told you there was a $10 bottle of wine, you would naturally tell you, and the statistics show that 97%, even the best, what are they called again? The wine?
Sommelier.
Yeah, they can't pick the wine. They picked the $100 wine because they were told it was a $100 bottle of wine. The reality is you charge them for the stuff, they'll be compliant, they'll respect you for it, they'll follow through with it, and they'll actually understand what you're doing. When you cheapen it and lessen it, what you do to it, you cheapened and lessened it, and then your value of what you do goes in the toilet.
And there's so much more work.
Yeah, and they're a pain in the ass.
They're
Let's just say what it is.
They're
It's like
heavy
the chiropractic
patients.
patient, give it away to them.
Yes,
Telling you,
they're
man,
heavy
I
patients.
promise you this, I've been doing it for a long time. Do not cheapen the process, because if you do, you're gonna hurt everything, not just some of it, all of it. I promise you, if I take anything out of this today, take that, because that's the one that everybody wants to go, well, are they really gonna, are they want to, are they not? Yeah, they want to, and if you don't go all the way with it, then don't do it. It's just that simple. It's really that easy.
I just add to that, I agree, after 25 years of practice, and I see that the people I give it to, because I want to help them, because they're struggling, they're the ones that want to follow through.
Mm-hmm. Money follows value.
Right.
So, awesome. Great. Our last session is going to be about integrating it in your office. We're going to go through about 11, 12 points of how to integrate in your office. And Dr. Heath and I had a conversation. What level do we integrate? Can we start with just how far do we have to go? You can take one piece of this and say, I just want to try labs, 10 labs. I want to get results. I want to just see how this is. That's okay, guys. This isn't a jump in the water with like Joe was saying, without a preserver and be scared. This is step by step. What I urge you to do is, if you do take a piece, stay with the one piece. Like if you're saying, I just want to try the lab and see if I can just do nutrient recommendations. I'm not even going down the console. I just want to provide good nutrient recommendations for $69. Then stay with that for 15, 20 cases, get results, and then maybe build plans, and then maybe add weight loss. But just start one thing and own that one thing and have conviction. Don't stop until you're convicted in it, or else you're just playing around, and that's what I think you're going to lose. So, okay, we'll take another 10 minutes, and then we'll one more session. We'll call it a day.